Assalamualaikum to Madam Rosina. My name is Nur Nazar Binti Hamdan and I am from Tasuan. So in this video, I will be discussing about the multicultural elements in the two short stories that I have chosen. So I have chose set E, which contains of two short stories, which are The Melody and the Cure by Catherine Lim and Maria by Cik Husna Azhari. Okay, the first short story is The Melody and the Cure. And this story tells us about Mr. Psycho Fan, who is a civil servant and is racked by a painful malady which incapacitates him and many other civil servants to go against the admonitions of the ruling political party. The malady is the physical deterioration of a civil servant who must always be a staunch advocate for the national campaigns, whatever their purposes are. And the second short story is Maria by Cik Husna Azhari. Maria tells us about a widower named Maria who sells nasi belau and admired by many men in the village. And this story is about the polygamy issue between Pak Imam, his wife Cik Yam, and Maria. Okay, let's take a look of the first multicultural element, which is family relationship. In the first short story, which is The Melody and the Cure, we can find this element through Mr. Psycho Fan's characteristic, who is a very strict father towards his four sons. Okay, why do we say so? This is because Mr. Psycho Fan told his sons to be grateful to have chicken for their dinner because back then in his younger days, he can only eat chicken once a year, which was during Chinese New Year. This evidence can be seen on page 259 in paragraph 2. Meanwhile, in paragraph 3, Mr. Psycho Fan mentioned to his sons to be grateful to have a bedroom and mattresses in their house because when he was younger, he used to sleep on rice sacks and shared a room with his 5 more siblings. Okay, next, in Maria, we can also find the element family relationship through Cik Yam's character, who loves her husband so much. Cik Yam loves his husband so much that she agrees to the second marriage of her husband, Pak Imam. She also does not want Pak Imam to be sad, that's why she approves his second marriage. At first, when Pak Imam told her that he wants to get married to Maria, Cik Yam actually gets sad. But after a while, she gave permission to Pak Imam to marry Maria. So based on this evidence, we can see that Maria really loves Pak Imam and she willing to sacrifice herself for Pak Imam's happiness. Okay, the second multicultural element is value system. In The Melody and the Cure, we can find that Mr. Psycho Fan values his status as a principal on page 260. He is someone who takes care of his own appearance well, hence he wants all of his students to do the same. In his school, he would not allow any of his students to have long hair. It says that in the short story where it mentions long hair is frowned upon, so a single hair springing up in different growth of out of the neatly cropped head of a pupil is immediately noticed and seized upon Mr. Sai in his regular rounds of school. As much as Mr. Psycho Fan values his appearance as a principal, he wants all of his students to do the same. Meanwhile, we can find the element value system in Maria through Cik Yam's character, who is willing to sacrifice her feelings for her husband. Cik Yam forgets her sadness and chooses to let her husband happy by giving him the permission to his second marriage. She does so that her husband will be happy with his life. And through this evidence, we can see how much Cik Yam values her marriage and love with Pak Imam, that she sacrifices her own happiness for Pak Imam's happiness. Other than that, in Maria, we can find the element value system in Pak Imam's honesty. Pak Imam tells Cik Yam the truth about his feelings and old love towards Sheikh's daughter. Through this evidence, we can emulate Pak Imam's character, who is honest, even though it is hard for us to say the truth. Next, the third multicultural element is social issue. In the Melody and the Cure, the social issue is about the overpopulation in Singapore. Overpopulation occurs when the population exceeds the capacity of the environment. Hence, in Singapore, the government announced that uh, announced the two-child policy to control the population during the 1970s. However, this policy only lasts until 1987 because the fall in fertility rate. And this then creates another policy, which is have 3 or more if you can afford. The evidence of these two policies can be seen on page 260, where it mentions that the age gap between his 2 older sons and 2 younger sons matches exactly the time gap between the campaign to stop at 2 and the campaign to have 3 or more if you can afford. Meanwhile, the element social issue can be seen in Maria is about the same gender degradation. Women in the village like to spread false rumors about someone they do not like. And this can be proven when Cik Gunap spreads false information about Maria. She went to Cik Yam's house and persuaded her to believe that Maria put something in her nasi berlauk to attract men. This evidence can be seen on page 4, paragraph 5, when Cik Gunap said, "But why do all these men seem hell-bent on eating breakfast at her place? We reckon she has put something in her nasi." This attitude of women regarding other women is very unlikable, as we have to support and raise each other in the society. Okay, the fourth element is gender issue. In the Melody and the Cure, I cannot find any gender issue, hence there will be no discussion for that. However, we can find this element in Maria. This short story portrays the gap between women's level and men's level. Women are owned by their husbands, hence they have to follow whatever the husbands say. Men are also very selfish in this short story because they will blame their wife for not being able to have a child. Moreover, they refuse to believe that the problem from not having child can also come from the men. This can be proven by the line on page 5, which says, "As far as he was concerned, bearing children was a woman's job, and if she didn't, there was something wrong with her. Fertility had nothing to do with men." And the last element is belief system. In the Melody and the Cure, Mrs. Psychophant has a strong belief in his own principles. He has a strong faith in doing something more than what people expected. Moreover, Mr. Psychophant is also proud of his own principle because he thinks that he is different from others. And this can be proven from line 26 on page 260, where it mentions Mr. Psychophant believes in going the extra miles. Indeed, his sense of gratitude will not let him do less. And line 29, which mentions, and that is also why he has 4 children when the campaign urges Singaporeans to have 3. Meanwhile, the element belief system is portrayed by Pak Imam. Most of the characters in this short story, Maria, practice Islam as their religion, just like Pak Imam. And Pak Imam can be characterized as a religious man as he often goes to the mosque. In Islam, going to the mosque is not highly required but encouraged. Hence, Pak Imam, as someone who often goes to the mosque, is seen as religious man. Moreover, Pak Imam also practices polygamy, which means men can marry more than one wife but less than 4 wives. This can be proven when Pak Imam wants to have his second marriage with Maria, while he has Cik Yam as his first wife. That is all for my discussion on multicultural elements for the 2 short stories, The Melody and the Cure, and Maria. Thank you.